We are at the ASCD Ghana conference here in Accra, Ghana. I'm presenting for 2 days and I'm going to be focused on preparing scholars for the world of work, the future. I can't wait to share what we're doing at my current school district and also what needs to be done to prepare scholars for opportunities that don't yet exist. We're all excited to be here. There are thought leaders and educators from all over the globe who have gathered here at this very place at the International School here in Ghana to discuss how we can make the world a better place for our scholars. And what we're focused on is the future we seek for our scholars and preparing them for jobs, careers, opportunities that don't yet exist. So I'm going to ask you to stay tuned to my presentation, some of the others, and some of the other speakers here at ASCD Ghana. I'll tell you a little bit about me. I am obviously from the US, I talked about that earlier. Most of my career has been in the state of New York, where I still am. I've served as an educator for 30 years. I know. I know, 30 years, but I spent the last 10 years as a superintendent. Come on in, come on in. As a superintendent, I've been a superintendent in 2 school districts, 7 years in one, year 3 in another. And they've been public schools. The work is just absolutely amazing. And as Kwame spoke earlier, I represent 1.7% of the superintendents in the country as a Black woman. Most superintendents don't look like me. So when I tell people I'm a superintendent, oftentimes they're shocked, like, you're a superintendent? But I am. I'm super happy about the work that I do as a superintendent, amazing initiatives, and I'll talk a little bit about those initiatives a little bit later on in the presentation. But the work that I'm super excited about, and I'm still doing this work, is that the consulting work that I do for various textbook companies. So I have been the co-author of 3 textbooks so far. Textbooks that are used around the world. So the first one is a literacy textbook. I was a co-author with that, Pearson Scott Forsman, Reading Street, as well as My Sidewalk. I was a co-author for Impact Social Studies with McGraw-Hill. Many of you have heard of McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill is everywhere. So I've done that work with social studies. And I just finished with Seesaw Education. And I've worked with them on English as a new language. And we developed a literacy-based social studies program for elementary schools. And I love that work because then I get to have a global impact, right? So it's not just my school district, but it really impacts what children learn and then how teachers teach. And what I said to all 3 companies when they reached out to me for the consultancy work, come on in, join us. What I said to them was, I am not doing this work because you want a Black face on the team, but I want to do this work because you're going to do it responsibly. And you're going to make sure that there's representation of the people who you're targeting, because most of these companies target school districts of color, right? And so that's the work that we did, and I'm very proud of that work. So let me just continue by saying thank you all for all that you do on behalf of children, on behalf of other people's children. Thank you, because this work is not easy and is definitely not for the faint of heart. And so as I was just talking a little bit about some of the things that I absolutely love that I do, aside from the textbooks and leading a school district, which is a lot, I also had the opportunity to launch this year a visual podcast called Strictly Education. And this visual podcast identifies issues and trends in education, and I bring all the brilliant minds together in this visual podcast, but we just don't discuss issues and trends, we talk about solutions. And sometimes we talk about the hard facts, and we have courageous conversations. My latest episode, which I believe launches next week, right? I brought in a therapist, a psychiatrist. I also brought in a medical professional and another superintendent, and we got to talk about work-life balance. How do we create work-life balance, and does it really exist? And we had courageous conversations about taking good care of ourselves if we're going to take good care of other people's children. And I actually did a deep dive, and I went into my own medical journey as an educator and as a superintendent. Oftentimes we don't have time to take care of ourselves because we're so busy taking care of everybody else. So I took them on my medical journey. The other superintendent I interviewed actually suffered a heart attack on the job. Stress, 46 years old. didn't know she was having a heart attack. She felt stomach cramps, nausea, and she was experiencing a heart attack. And what I learned from that show is I didn't understand that women and men have different symptoms when it comes to heart attacks. But ultimately, we talked about unplugging, taking good care of ourselves so that we can be whole to other people as busy educators. And people look at our profession and have no idea what it entails, that we put every ounce of energy into what we do every single day. So at the end, I'm going to give you a link to my LinkedIn. You can check out the podcast. I'm at my 3rd episode so far. Looking forward to my 4th episode where I'm going to focus on college and career readiness. Are we really preparing kids for college and career? So I'm going to interview kids and ask them, college kids, what is your experience? Did we do right by you in the K-12 world? And I'm hoping that we can get some global exposure as well through this. So these are the things that I'm super excited about. Okay, so let's get into this. Aside from just being an educator, I had an opportunity to indulge in the work that I love the most here when I went to the Central region. We visited a village, and I had no idea I was going to experience this. We went to the community school. I had no idea I was going to experience this. And while I enjoy this picture, and don't ask me what I was trying to do here, they asked me to dance, and I was just off beat. It was terrible, but it was this work that pulled every fiber of my being into pouring into what I know I need to do, not just for Westbury School District, not just for the state of New York, not just for the United States, but global. And if you don't believe me, check it out for yourself. talk about preparing scholars for the world of work, I want you to keep those faces in mind. You saw those faces? They're just like kids from everywhere. They're all the same. When they would put up the deuces for me, I said, okay, so let me find out. But we're all the same, and we have an obligation as educators to prepare these scholars for opportunities that don't yet exist. I don't care what their address is. I don't care if their parents don't speak the native language and they speak a different language, they have different religious backgrounds. It doesn't matter. They deserve our very best. And to have the opportunity to stand in front of a class, impromptu, completely unexpected, to teach and work and touch those lives, that was probably the best part of this conference for me. So we're going to talk about what we're going to discuss today. And we're going to discuss a few objectives. We're going to outline a comprehensive approach for educational leadership to prepare K-12 scholars for the ever-evolving world of work. We're going to expand on the role that educators should play in shaping the future workforce. We're going to review some key indicators that show scholars who receive career education and guidance are more likely to pursue higher education and attain success. And then I'm going to take you on one school district's journey in doing just this work. I'm going to take you to my school district. Now, let me be clear, my school district is not perfect, but we have started the journey in preparing our scholars and being prepared for work that don't yet exist. Now, you may ask, how do you prepare them for work that doesn't even exist yet? There are certain skill sets that they will need to have, and these skill sets will prepare them for any outcome and any opportunity. Did you know that 80% of the jobs in the year 2030, now 2030 sounds like it's pretty far from now, right? But it is right around the corner. I just remember as a child, when I think of the year 2000, the year 2010, I'm thinking of cars flying, pressing one button and my house is clean and dinner is prepared. Cars might be flying in 2030. I don't know. That's the direction that we're going because they definitely turn into sailboats and things of that sort now. But just think, in the year 2030, there will be jobs, 85% of the jobs don't exist today. So how do you prepare them for this work? So what are the jobs of the future? The jobs of the future, and I only pulled out a few, that we need to start thinking about because these jobs will be in demand for our scholars. Big data analytics, climate change mitigation technology. Now, who would have thought that we would experience a Category 5 hurricane this early in hurricane season that went through the Caribbean? The climate is changing. It's warmer in the northeast section of the United States than it is in the southeast. Never seen before. We're seeing weather changes that are absolutely unique to different regions. And we need folks to study that. We need folks to help mitigate and prepare people for those types of occurrences. Environmental, sustainability of climate. You're hearing a lot about that, and we definitely need folk who are working in that particular area. Organ creator. This is a very interesting concept in the medical profession because now more and more the medical treatment is getting more and more sophisticated. We're going to need brilliant minds to help create opportunities for people to extend their life, to address medical issues that just maybe modern medicine can't. We find creative ways in which to do so. You notice that prosthetic legs, prosthetic hands, prosthetic arms look much different than they did 10 years ago. They're almost mechanical. Remember back in the days, the bionic man and bionic woman? For those of us who know about that, this is what we're becoming through technology. And so we have to think about what are these jobs for the future. Now, if you look at this list, some of these jobs don't quite exist yet. And this list is going to continue to grow as we become more sophisticated in finding solutions to some of the world's issues. So let's talk about some skills. Go back. Let's talk about some skills. Now, I talked about jobs that don't yet exist. What do you think might be some skills that scholars will need in order to attain these jobs or even to be competitive for these jobs? What types of skills do you think someone would need? How can schools prepare them? Yes, sir, Mr. Chicago. Critical thinking is a skill. Talk more about that.
Just being able to solve problems.
Critical thinking, problem solvers. What are other skills that scholars might need in order to attain jobs for the future? Yes, sir.
Innovative skills.
Innovative skills. You got to be creative. You got to be able to think outside the box. You can't think today's thoughts for tomorrow's jobs. Yes, sir. That's a really good skill.
Yes.
To be able to multitask, to do several things at the same time, or to have several streams of thoughts and several projects happening simultaneously and not dropping the ball. Now that's a skill. Yes, ma'am.
Also a collaborator.
You got to be a collaborator. You got to be able to work as a member of a team and to understand that you are not an island and understand that you need to work with people. You can't do this by yourself. And to be a team member, sometimes you may not agree with everyone, but you also learn how to adapt and be flexible. Okay. Yes, sir.
Programming, artificial intelligence, prompt creating, things of that nature.
So programming, yeah. And that can go along with IT, technology, right? Being able to be proficient in technology, to be able to program, right? To be able to code, right? And to be able to do all those sophisticated things with technology. What other skills are needed? Yes, ma'am.
Communication skills. So that you
What, say it one more time.
communication.
Communication.
Yeah. So that you'll be able to communicate your ideas and then vision to the people to get them on board.
That's a lost art, effective communication. Communication. Not just communicate to be heard, but to communicate to be understood, right? So being able to have great communication skills, that's an excellent one. Any other skills that are needed? Yes?
I think also emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. Why don't you elaborate on that? What does that mean?
So being able to be self-aware of how you come into a space and also being able to look at different people and just, I guess I would say, just understand their thinking and how their culture and everything affects the way they operate.
Their culture affects them. So I just can't have the United States mindset. I just can't have the mindset of Ghana. I can't have the mindset of just Scotland. I have to think globally. I have to be empathetic to my Muslim brothers and sisters, even though that's not my faith. I have to be empathetic to those who have different religions and understanding that. It made me think to graduation that we just had at my school district, where some of my beautiful Muslim students, and I have a very diverse school district, walked across the stage and I had to shake all 400 and somewhat hands, and my beautiful girls in their hijab, they don't shake hands. So I had to be mindful that you just acknowledge them by giving them a nod and a big smile. See, that is empathetic. That is recognizing other cultures and being respectful of such. You know, we've had teachers in our school district when they want to discipline a child and they're talking to the child and they say, look me in my eyes, look me in my face, and the child is looking down. Well, guess what? In some cultures, you don't look in the eyes of an adult, especially when they're scolding you. It's a symbol of disrespect. But we have to educate educators to understand that we have to teach children to be empathetic of such. During Ramadan, many of my beautiful Muslim children fast for the month. And we make sure that there's spaces for them to go when the other children are eating lunch. How dare you eat lunch in front of these kids and knowing that they have to fast during the day? We find spaces for them to pray. That's being empathetic. And so we model that behavior in our school district in hopes that our children will adapt that same concept when they go into adulthood. So let's see how bright this group is. I think they're pretty sharp. Leadership is a skill that we're going to need going in. Lord knows we have enough followers in this world, but we do need leaders. Leadership involves being able to inspire, to motivate, being a strong communicator. Leadership. Leadership does not mean a title. Does not mean a title. Does not mean a title, because you can lead within. You can be a teacher and still be the leader of your building. You can be the custodian and still be the leader. Leadership does not mean a title. Leadership is an act. Leadership is a behavior. We want to teach our scholars to be self-thinkers, to be leaders, to be motivators, and to be able to inspire. And we do that through effective communication. Someone talked about being able to think higher cognitive abilities, to be able to analyze, to be able to think critically. I heard that. Social emotional intelligence. We need to be able to be empathetic leaders. We need to be able to have the effective advanced communication and to be adaptable and to be flexible and to recognize that there are differences and be accepted, because those differences that you bring to the table can be impactful. Yes, ma'am.
And the social and emotional intelligence from yesterday's section, we learned about being resilient. And
Being resilient.
And I think in all this, having all this, you need that.
You need resilience. We have to teach our children to be resilient. Well, let me say something. I don't know about other places, but in the United States, we have done a disservice because every child is a winner. There's a soccer game, everybody gets a trophy. There's a basketball game, everybody gets a medal. We don't teach them to work hard because we give them everything. Part of being resilient is that you get knocked down and you get right back up and you try harder. And we have to start teaching children that you're going to get knocked down, but you've got to get right back up and you just got to try harder to be successful. And so that resilience is very, very important. Someone talked about being able to use a technology, right? Being able to code and being able to be proficient in technology. Adults fear these devices. Oftentimes in schools, we tell the children to put it away. Can't use it. But guess what? This is their world. And when they get jobs of the future in 2030, 2035, they're going to be working from this. They're not going to be working from thick textbooks like this. So why are we holding them back? It's our own fear. They should be using iPads and tablets. They should be using what he's using. They should be using devices because these things are going to be relevant. Okay? Cultural competency. I think we talked a lot about cultural competency. This involves the ability to understand and respond to different cultures, and I think we've had some discussion on that. What else should I add to this list? A lot of what you said was great. What else could be added to this list? Any thoughts? Yes, sir.
I think we should also think about the soft skills that we need.
There we go. Talk to me about those soft skills. What are some of those soft skills?
Trust, empathy,
Integrity, trust. Thank you. If you're going to be an environmentalist scientist, what about that integrity? You need to be able to come up with solutions that's not going to trigger asthma in a particular neighborhood. That's the integrity. That's the trust. If you're going to invent something, I don't know, using AI, you can't use my face and my body saying something and my whole voice, and it's not really me, and it's impersonating me, and I'm saying something that's inappropriate where I can possibly lose my job. But that's what's happening. We have to teach our scholars the effective and the responsible way of using the technology that's available to them. Okay? Anything else before we move on? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I think in the world in which we are bringing conflict leadership skills.
Leadership, say it one more time.
Conflict.
How do we forget conflict resolution? How did we, because you know, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to get a little political here. Every time we have a disagreement, we're ready to fight. Instead of understanding the other side, instead of understanding what somebody else may be experiencing, and perhaps we need to take a look at ourselves, right? Having the conversation, being able to resolve conflict effectively, and being able to move on. That is a wonderful skill. Thank you. Yes, sir.
You should be aware of your mental health because it's key to everything.
What?
Mental health.
It is, the pandemic exposed greatly the need to address mental health concerns. And then we saw it being underscored and pronounced in so many different ways. And so thank you, you are absolutely right. Sound mental health. Excellent. Okay, let's move on. So we talked about all these soft skills. We talked about all of these professional skills that we want to see our scholars have to prepare them for the world of work. So how do we prepare them for the world of work? We've got to do curriculum integration. It has to be embedded in everything we do. Talking about conflict resolution, good mental health, talking about communication has to be part of the public discourse in every classroom. Doesn't mean you have to do it separately. You embed it. You can open up your classroom simply by walking in and saying, how are you all feeling today? If you're feeling really good, put your thumb up. If you're feeling bad, put your thumb down. If you're feeling sideways. Just that alone tells me as a scholar, my teacher cares about me. My teacher wants to know how I'm feeling. My feelings matter. And if someone is feeling down, then maybe during that lesson, the teacher can just walk over to that person and just, how you doing today? You good? Okay. We'll be surprised what that may do. But see, these are the skills we want to teach our scholars. To be brave enough to talk about when you're not feeling well and when you might need some help. Because there's nothing wrong with help. Now, we can talk about that all day. And as black folk, I don't care where you're from, we don't like to ask about help when it comes to mental health because there's a stigma attached to that. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So curriculum integration. Develop curriculum that blends academic knowledge with practical skills is very, very important. Incorporating STEAM education. STEAM is an acronym for science, technology. In most places, engineering, and the A could be arts. Some people call it the academic, and mathematics. And you can't forget the arts when it comes to education, and I'll tell you why. Because the academics is what intellectualizes our scholars, but it's the art that humanizes them. And when we forget about the art, we dehumanize public education. We've got to include the art. Many schools, because of budgetary reasons, cut out the arts, but not realizing how important the arts. The arts the art triggers creativity, right? Yeah. Gives kids individuality. Yeah. It gives them purpose. Do you know how many scholars come to school just because of the arts? And did you know there's a direct correlation between the arts and scholars being proficient in literacy and numeracy? Yeah. So when we talk about STEAM, don't forget the arts. We have to emphasize critical thinking, problem solving, and effective communication in all of our curriculum development. You have to have higher order thinking. We have to ask scholars to think. We've got to stretch their thinking. We talked about expectations yesterday in my session. Students will rise, students will fall to expectations. When your expectations are low, they will plateau. But when your expectations are great, they will soar to heights unimaginable. Just try it. Push them. Don't say it's too hard. You'll be surprised how much they will rise to the occasion if you just give them a chance. But we've got to teach them these skills so that they could be able to thrive. We've also got to encourage interdisciplinary learning. Now, what is interdisciplinary learning? What it simply means is we have to make math make sense. We've got to make English make sense. We've got to make science make sense. All of these subject areas have to make sense, and they have to correlate. So if I'm learning about trees in science, we're learning about trees. Why can't we read literacy about trees? Why can't we talk about how trees played a role in history and social studies? How come we can't count the rings of a tree branch in mathematics? It has to make sense. It has to be an interdisciplinary approach. Otherwise, I will tell you, and this is speaking from 30 years of experience, it goes in one ear and it goes out the other. It's no relevance to education. We've got to make education relevant. Yesterday, I shared with everyone how I have a phobia for mathematics. Don't ask me to do math and compute. I ain't doing it. I was a literacy teacher, not math. But I know why I have a fear for math. Because no one in my K-12 experience has made math make sense to me. They made me hate it. They never showed me how it's relevant to my life, because I like to shop. You didn't show me how I can take 15% off $100 and what that's supposed to mean to me. You have to make it make sense to children. When you make it make sense, they will understand and grasp it. And those things are very, very important. Yes, sir. Please do.
The gardener in my house,
Oh my
this
God, I
flower
got 2
many of
minutes.
the nights. And this flower has very sweet smell, especially in the night. Now here is this gardener who thinks he should just prune the plant. So he pruned all the flowers.
Right.
And when I saw the way it had been pruned,
Yes.
and pruned,
Yes.
I was shocked. But later on I said, he's not well educated enough to know that it's
Not
the
educated
flower,
enough, that's right.
the highest scent in the flower. That's what I want.
Yes.
But he just started.
Oh no. Had he been in our literacy class, right. Exactly. Just didn't know. Just didn't know. The lack of understanding. I can't stress upon more the importance of industry partners in K-12 education. Here's what I mean by industry partners. This means those who are doing the work, who are doing these jobs of the future, or maybe some semblance of that, partner with them. Bring them into the schools. Let children see these big companies come into the schools and talk to them about what it is that they do. Industry partners can be the most influential, even more so than the classroom. Bringing them in, giving them internships, giving them apprenticeship. It is powerful in preparing them for the future. We establish these collaborations, local businesses. Yesterday, someone asked me, well, how do you get these partners? Start with the parents. Many of our parents work for these wonderful companies. They want to share their work with the class. So if they work for this big company, hey, you think maybe you can bring some people in to talk to the students about Career Week, about what it means and what it is that you do? You'll be surprised what it sparks. I'll give you an example. My daughter, who's 22 years old, like her mama, hated math. This girl would cry before taking a math test. So I'm a part of an organization, and we had a panel, STEM panel. And we had a panelist of individuals who are doing the work in the field of STEAM and STEM. You had doctors, you name it, everything. There was this one woman who was a packaging engineer, and she spoke. I picked up my daughter, even though she didn't want to go to the STEM panel. I picked her up, and she said, oh my God, I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. She's 16 years old. And I said, girl, you do not know what you want to do for the rest of your life at 16. She says, yes, I do, Mommy. I want to be a packaging engineer. I said, how did you want it? But math. I know. Still hated math. So she found a camp called PAC Camp. I've never heard that in my life. I said, where'd you find, Clemson, where'd you find that? I said, where'd you find that? She said, I think I want to go. She went to this packaging camp. My daughter is a senior at Clemson University in their engineering school, crushing it. Crushing it, and right now she's in Taiwan, by the way, studying abroad because she also speaks Mandarin Chinese as a minor. So this baby girl speaking Mandarin Chinese, she's a packaging engineer. I can't wait to see where she's going to take her mama next. But let me give you my point. She saw someone who looked just like her, who was doing something, and she said, I can do that. Representation matters. When we expose our beautiful scholars to these different professions, especially when they see people who look like them doing it, you will be surprised what you can spark. And by the way, she's doing great in math at Clemson.
I have to ask.
Please do.
Is it what it sounds like? Packaging engineer?
It is exactly what it sounds like, how things are packaged.
Okay.
I didn't even know that thing existed. And I'm an educator. I had no idea it existed. So it's how things are packaged. So like this bottle of water. So when I take her grocery shopping with me, she analyzes everything. Well, Mommy, you see why this is packaged this way. And there's different types of plastic. I had no idea. Why this cap is this way. Why there is a plastic piece on the cap. And why is it blue? Why is it perforated? That's what she is studying. I didn't even know there was many different types of aluminum foil. I had no idea. I learned so much from her on how things are packaged. She had an internship working with Brown-Forman. They are a manufacturer of spirits. She created a package for Jack Daniels, which is, y'all know what that is. Okay. She created a package, I think y'all know, that's how I looked at the men, like y'all know what that is. Y'all know what that is. She created some sort of package for them, and she was responsible for corking alcohol to make sure that it can transfer well. I didn't even know that these products go through these different things. Shake it up, make sure that when it's on the airplane during turbulence that the cork doesn't pop out. I had no idea that all of those things matter. That's what my kid, who hated math, studying because this one woman was on a panel who looked like her, and she said, I can do that. So industry partners matter. Bring them into your school. Have panelists. Have people come into the classrooms to talk to children and let them bring their products. Makeup products. I had no idea the engineering that went behind it and how it's packaged. I just buy the lipstick because I like the pretty tube and the color's pretty. But the way it's tubed actually matters about the sustainability of the product. You'll be surprised all the different professions our beautiful children can consider if only they had people who are doing the work talk to them. We're gonna keep going. So I talked about guest speakers and sessions, technology integration. I can't stress that enough. Now, grown folk in the room, you know we're scared of technology. We're not as technologically savvy as our young people, but we can learn from them. Yeah. We can learn from them, let them teach. You know you have a tech genius in your classroom. We all do. Let that person lead. Give him or her an opportunity to lead some of the sessions in technology. You will be surprised what you will do for that child if you just allow him or her to lead a session. Provide access and tools. There are companies that will donate laptops, iPads, all sorts of tools to our scholars. All you have to do is just write to them and then they will send it to you for free. Many companies are proud to do that work. I even had people reach out to me and they saw that I was in Ghana and they said, well, what do they need? How can I support? How can I help? You'll be surprised. Just ask. Okay, keep going. Growth mindset. I can't talk about that enough. We have to teach people to step outside of the box and be okay with doing something different. Be okay with doing something different that you would never think you would be able to do. You would be surprised. You would be surprised when we expose our scholars to lands and different things in which we never thought about. Expose them to different languages. That's powerful. Now, my little black girl is speaking Chinese. She's in Taiwan speaking to native people, but she was exposed to something that she would have never thought, right? I brought a Mandarin Chinese program to a school district where I was a superintendent, and my kids were speaking. There were people who said to me, these kids ain't gonna speak Mandarin Chinese, they can barely speak English. And I said, oh, that's your expectation? Watch. We started the program in pre-K. By the time these kids got into third grade, no one knew what in the world they were talking about, but they were speaking the language. Why do we pick Mandarin Chinese? Because you know and I know it's going to be the #1 spoken language in the world. So if we're preparing scholars for the world of work, you better make sure that they are global competitors and they can speak the language so that they can do foreign trade and exchange and be able to step into doors and be invited to tables unimaginable. Y'all got me going to church on a Sunday. Make sure that we engage in reflective practices. I can't talk about reflection. Think about your day. What did you do today? How can I be better tomorrow than I was yesterday? Help our scholars to reflect. Help them to journal. Now, you might be like, oh, that's kind of boring. No, because reflection is what makes us better. When we think about what happened today, which we could make better tomorrow. These are the practices that we want to be able to engage them in. We got to prepare our children because there's a world out here who don't believe in the children we serve. Yeah. Let me repeat that. There's a world out here bigger than the continent of Africa, bigger than the United States. There's a world that believes that the children we serve cannot. It is up to us to help them to prove that they can. Career counseling services. This is really, really important. And in your respective school districts or what you do, and especially the library system, it is uber important that there is someone designated to help scholars find their passion for career advancement. Helping someone to find what it is that you want to do. What do you like to do? Well, I like to write. Well, what do you want to do? I don't know. I like math. Well, what do you want to do with that? I don't know. Well, I like doing such and such. Well, what do you want to do with it? I don't know. But you need someone to help pull it out of scholars. So you like math? You know you can do X, Y, Z, Z. I've never thought about that. You like reading? You can do this, you can do that, you can do this. You like writing? You can do this, you can do that, you can do this. The career counseling piece is probably one of the most important pieces that anyone can have at their high school, and I even say middle school. Helping scholars to find their path and what it is that they want to do, and helping them to find their passion, what it is that you enjoy. Get a profile. You like working with people, you like mathematics, you like music. Well, guess what? You can probably do boom, 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 boom with those skill sets and with those passions. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a place called Westbury. Westbury is a tiny little dot in the state of New York in the United States. That's where I work. That's where I serve. I serve nearly 6,000 beautiful scholars. I call them my rainbow kids. It's like the United Nations in my school district. We are beautifully diverse, and I love it. We have a very large Hispanic population, a large Haitian Creole population. We have a growing Middle Eastern population. We have 17 languages represented in my school district. It is amazing. The different religions backgrounds, the different social economic. Most of my children live below the poverty line. So you already know people have put low expectations on my babies. Well, I'm going to show you how Mama Chase made sure that there were high expectations, and I'm watching my babies rise to those high expectations. And I'm hoping that you can glean something that you can take back to your school district or begin to think about how you can do it too. Because it ain't impossible, and a lot of it is free. It's just thinking outside of the box. So here's what I did. I talked about that college and career counselor. Some people in this room may know this face. So I hired a dedicated person. Remember I talked about the college and career to help children find their passion, to find their shine? That's why he was hired. Help my children find their shine. Get them into college. Reach out to those colleges. Find out where those scholarships are. Take them on explorations in which ordinarily they would not have. I'm leaving these babies to you. That is your focus. That is your only focus. Now, if you're considering a position like this, don't muddy the waters. Don't add other stuff to it. Don't make it college and career and social emotional and mental health. Don't do that because that person can't focus. Don't do that because social emotional and mental health needs its own person. College and career needs its own person. Literacy needs its own person. Security, because you know at schools, we like to hire one person to do 5 jobs. And we think we're saving money and we think we're doing the right thing. And you know what? You'll get better return in hiring 5 different people to focus on one area. So I hired him. His name is Kyle Bowler. Kyle has been a godsend to our school district. Here he is talking to elementary school children about college and career readiness. Now you're saying the little kindergartners? Yes, that early to help them find their passion. And he brought 2 scholars with him with their college sweatshirts showing them you can aspire to do the same thing. We're talking to our young babies about college. Kyle is amazing. He exposes them to college. We have college fairs, we have career fairs, we have so many wonderful things going on. And let me tell you what Kyle did this year. He took a group of young men to Ghana for their birthright journey. And it was amazing. He took these young men to show them their ancestral lineage and expose them. And I will tell you, those guys left as boys and they came back as young men. And to hear them say, I learned so much on this trip, and I learned things on this trip that I would have never been exposed to in the classroom. That's why I hired him. Okay, keep going. I'm competing with a wedding out there, y'all. We implemented Career Week district-wide. We bring professionals. She's actually the aunt of one of the kids. We bring scientists. We bring all sorts of things to the school district to expose our scholars to what they can become. Career Week started off as Career Day in my school district, and the principal said that's not enough time. Bring in as many professionals from the outside as you possibly can to expose our scholars, and that's exactly what we did. I told you, tap into your parents, tap into the local businesses, simply write a letter. Would you come in? Most people love to come in to talk to students. They love to share what it is that they do. You'll be surprised who you might inspire. Okay, I'm gonna have to go quickly, guys, because I'm running out of time. So you heard the speaker, Kwame Simpson, talk about, well, Dr. Chase has all these partnerships. Here is just a small screenshot of some of the partnerships I have in my school district, free of charge. They provide a service. They engage my scholars. And here's what we did. So we just implemented some new solar panels at my high school, energy efficient solar panels. We did all of that. So I said to the group, okay, you're doing all this work and I'm paying you a whole lot of money. What are you guys gonna do for me in return? Well, we're gonna mentor 6 of your kids. Okay, great. So they've mentored 6 of my kids, mostly girls, to expose them to the world of engineering. Just something as simple. Honeywell, FireMaker. FireMaker, you see these 2 guys right here that are part of my team? We traveled together for the past 10 years. We've been together. They are my digital creators, our social media. Our children have been empowered to use their voice because of these guys. They see themselves on social media. Now the children are dictating and determining what goes on social media and how we're going to tell our own story in our school district. See, that's the partnership, right? So when you pay these companies and these consultants big dollars, you ask, well, what are you going to do for my children in return? And you'll be surprised what you get. The first one, the Ndinka Group. He's sitting right here in the back, Mr. Diallo. He's one of our partners. He hosted my young men in Ghana. And he gave them the time that I don't think I could have given them in any one of my classrooms at my school district. He's now a forever partner in my school district. He's exposed them to something that no social studies teacher has ever exposed them to. The kids said, that's out of the mouths of babes. Harmony Healthcare. Harmony Healthcare gives us free healthcare for all of my high school students. And you know what they had the nerve to do? They had the nerve to take up space in one of my high schools. We actually have a healthcare center in my high school. They give free examinations, free immunizations, healthcare training, sex education, infectious disease education, whatever the scholars might need. They get a little fever, you go to the health center. And guess what? Your mom doesn't have insurance, doesn't matter. This is free. This is what partnership look like. And Mr. in the back, they also give free mental health to the kids. Free, right? So these partnerships, and I can speak on and on. NYU, New York University, one of our Ivy Leagues in the United States, Langone Health, partnered with us, no charge. They said, give us 6 of your scholars. You got them. 6 scholars who want to go into the medical professional. You got them. And guess what? For the next 12 weekends, they'll be working with doctors at NYU Langone, one of the top hospitals in the country. Guess what they're going to be doing? Surgical robotics, jobs of the future. This is their internship. This is the exposure that I'm talking about. So you've got to have these industry partners to help expose our scholars to what they can become. I'm going to speak about one more and then we're going to move on. The Magma Math. When I went to Sweden last year, I met these guys, brand new company. They're kind of wacky, kind of nutty, but I kind of like that. I was like, oh, you guys kind of match my school district. This is pretty cool. And they're out of the box. They're not one of these big companies. They brought a math program that uses AI to help scholars do well with math. And I told you about my math phobia, right? So your math program, your math program, your math program, your math program is going to look completely different based on what it is that you need. And so they have used and engineered AI to focus on individualized math intervention. And so I love that. Through them, I said, well, help me out with a couple other things. How do you make math attractive? Because my experience was so negative in math. How do you make it attractive for my scholars? This year, we implemented something called Math Mania, where it's almost like a spelling bee for math. And we have kindergartners who are doing, triple-digit numbers and mathematics and subtracting, just standing there and just doing it off the top of their heads because of the partnerships. And as I said, when we bring in these big companies, these big resources, and we're spending a lot of money, ask them, what are you going to do for my scholars in return? And hold them accountable. But the industry partnership is a huge chunk of what it is that we do in Westbury. We became an international baccalaureate school district a couple of months ago. Everybody told me, you can't do that because it doesn't go with the high school requirements that are set by the United States. And I said, watch. It took my school district 20 years to do it. I got there in 2021. We started the process. I brought in somebody who I brought him in just for that because he did it in my former school district and I snatched him up from someplace else. I paid him well and I said, I need you to build that program for me. We will be launching our first IB program in September. We are part of the IB community, and basically what this means is that my scholars who look like us, who are below the poverty line, whose mama can't speak English, they just migrated here a couple of years ago, so forth and so on, will be graduating with a global recognized diploma. Now that's a beautiful thing. Oh, by the way, they also get college credits. And they get enough credits where most of them will go in as sophomores. And what a savings that is for a family. Yep, so I can skip that because we also implemented something called the Seal of Biliteracy and the Seal of Civic Readiness. In my school district, guess what? We celebrate bilingualism. What did I tell you? They've got to learn about other cultures. Help them to speak other languages. So in our school district, we recognize it and we celebrate the fact that we have scholars that speak multiple fluently. So if you speak multiple language fluently, you get a seal on your diploma at the very end of graduation saying that you have earned the seal of biliteracy. We started this last year. We started off with 40 somewhat students. We're now at 54. This year is our first year with the Seal of Civic Readiness and preparing students for their civic duties. Civic duties, community service, voting. The importance of giving back to the community that raised you. And so there are a lot of requirements that are needed in order to get this Seal of Civic Readiness, saying that they are prepared to go out into the world and to act on their civic duties. This year we have 154 scholars who have, because we just graduated, who have earned their Seal of Civic Readiness. But I want you to go back. You see the diversity that exists in my school district? And I'm showing you the pictures of my scholars, where we teach them how to get along. We teach them how to be respectful of other children's religious backgrounds and how to be respectful of other people's cultures. That's what we have to teach our children so that they can be prepared for the future that we seek, the jobs for tomorrow. Because they're going to have to interact and collaborate, as you said, with other people who may not look like them, who may not have the same background as them, who may not speak the same language, but you need them. You need them for a skill set, and you'd be surprised what you can learn from other people. Okay. We introduced this year something called vocational studies. Now, college is not an option for everyone. And we live in a society where everyone thinks, well, you got to go to college right after high school. Some people might go for a different route, and guess what? Be just as productive and just as successful as someone who went to a school. But learn something, learn a trade, and be really good at it, and go for the entrepreneurship part of that trade. So we introduced electrical training because what we learned from the pandemic is that we need electricians. We need electricians, and they ain't going nowhere. And so we developed a partnership with an organization that's on Long Island to introduce vocational studies. And look at my babes. This young lady, we have more girls who are in the electrical training program as well, and we encourage young ladies to go into jobs that are mostly dominated by males. 12 of my scholars earned certification upon graduating from high school, and they promised me that they're going to go to college, get their MBA, and become entrepreneurs in the field of electrician. I think it's amazing. But we've got to also expose them to other sectors too, okay? We talked about college and university partnerships. I can't stress that enough, the importance of doing that. Reaching out to colleges, hey, I got some kids, they can't afford to go, maybe some scholarships, maybe the kids can work on some things. You'll be surprised if you just simply ask what you can provide for these scholars, right? Having those college partnerships are super important as well. We have a partnership with a college that's a local college. Through them, they run my Saturday STEAM program. So at Westbury, I open schools 6 days a week. I think we're one of the few districts that do that. Kids go to school on Saturday. I have so many kids coming to school on Saturday, I had to open up new classes. And they're engaged in STEAM, and we're doing it through the professors at Malloy University. They come in, they do hands-on STEAM, and now we engage the parents in it as well, so that the parents can do STEAM activities with the children at home. So we have a STEAM academy that runs on a Saturday, but this came from the partnerships with the universities. The universities can also provide professional development for teachers. You'll be surprised how many teachers can actually gain wonderful professional development opportunities from the colleges. And I know I'm running out of time. So I ran out of time yesterday, but I want to just go into these quotes, and I'm going to end with a couple of quotes. You can read them for yourselves, and you can make comments as you wish on these quotes. In a world run by AI, the human qualities in our work become more important than ever. Someone talked about integrity earlier. No matter what we do, we've got to maintain the integrity. Keep going. A few speakers spoke about this very quote today. Education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. Thoughts? Comments? Okay. Artificial intelligence is forcing human endeavor away from simple algorithmic to repetitive tasks towards solving problems and incubating new ideas. It is the human mind, as opposed to the human body, which has been an underutilized resource for far too long. No matter how technologically advanced we become, humans will still be needed. Any thoughts? Trust me, I had a whole activity planned, but we ran out of time with this. Oh, look at who I have. Look at God. Yes, a good man. Education is the process of acquiring knowledge through ideas, values, skills, and experiences. Education helps to raise the poor from poverty by increasing the value and efficiency of their labor. Thoughts, comments? Okay. Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Thoughts, comments? Okay. You know your girl have to have her own quote. Empowering our scholars with workplace skills is crucial for their future success. As leaders, which we all are, we established that here, right? We need to provide the tools and opportunities that enable them to thrive in today's competitive world as well as tomorrow's. Thoughts? Comments? Okay. So, we started off with a set of objectives. I think there were 5. I'm hoping that we met them. By adopting a multifaceted approach, educational leaders can empower K-12 scholars to confidently navigate the challenges of the future professional landscape. So those of us who are in leadership roles by title in this room, think about how you can empower your educators to empower your scholars. Now that's powerful. What tools can you give them? Are you providing them with partnership industry partners? Are you providing them with the resources and the tools that they need? And all resources don't have to cost money. It requires a little creativity. School leaders must create dynamic educational environment that not only imparts knowledge, but also equips scholars with the skills and the mindset necessary for success in the workforce. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about how that could look. So, we're not going to have time to answer this question because I was going to go around the room. But I want you to just take about 30 seconds to think about this. How are you preparing your scholars for the world of work? And think about the work that you do every single day. Think about those scholars who will be meeting you in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks for some of us. What are you doing to prepare them for that 2030 that we talked about at the beginning of my presentation? Think about it. Okay. So I thank you. I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. I thank you for your participation. I thank you so much for just your words and your encouragement. I thank you for helping me to enhance this presentation for the future, because there's much of what you all said that I'm going to actually include in here as I present this at another time. Just thank you for being an open-minded person and for your consideration. More importantly, I just thank you for what you do for children every single day. You are doing God's work. Y'all taking care of other people's children. And for some of us, you spend more time with other people's children than you do with your own. So please know that your work is not in vain and your rewards will be rich. As a 30-year educator, when I reach out to students and scholars and they reach back out to me and I hear the great things that they're doing, that's the reward. So thank you for all that you do, and I wish each and every one of you well. So I talked about the visual podcast. If you go to my LinkedIn, which you can use this QR code, you'll have an opportunity to see it. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you can see what my kids are doing at Westbury. I will follow you back because I want to know what your babies are doing. And I'd like to see and keep up with you all to hear what it is that you're doing and how you're preparing your scholars for the world of work. Thank you all.